Here's my fund. If you're doing stand-up in India right now, okay, find one other way to make money for a while. Okay. मैं भी कर रहा ना writing jobs मैं भी कर मेरा टूर से पैसा नहीं बन रहा है मैं टूर से एक better comedian बन रहा है और hopefully एक better इंसान बन रहा है. That's the goal. Right? And the money is the money. The money is a whole separate equation that you need to figure out in life. So as long as you are able to do that, stand-up is not going to die.
Hello and welcome to the DeadAnt chat room. This is your host, Panish Kapil. And joining us today is comedian and musician, Aakash Mehta.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, Aakash.
Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
How are you doing? Are you in Shillong?
I'm dealing with a stuffed nose and just acclimatizing still to the altitude and the weather. But otherwise, it's great. It's a very scenic place.
So, Aakash, we'll start off with some background. You're a law graduate and you have a diploma in, according to what I read, a diploma in audio engineering as well. So, how did you do all of that studying and then end up in comedy?
Lack of sleep. I started law school after 12th, and I also started audio engineering diploma during that 12th vacation post. So, and I also started comedy in first year of law school. So, those first 3 years were basically just not sleeping, and I was also freelancing and doing all the other random things I do. So it was just hell. Like that's how you do it. You just put yourself through absolute hell for 3 years, and then you come out of it having some better skills, hopefully. So that's really the only. I wanted to be a musician pele, and then that didn't work out. So I figured, okay, chalo, at least learn how to make music. And so then audio engineering was the sasta compromise for not being able to go abroad to study. So then, and it was always more a skill set. I didn't consider myself somebody. I'm not somebody who can sit in a studio for 6 hours. 6 hours is an understatement. The amount of time engineering, recording engineers spend inside. So it was always more of a skill set thing. Helped a lot with stand-up also, just knowing live sound. But yeah, that's how it happened. I don't know, man. I didn't really plan any of this. I was just like doing whatever I liked. And I ended up here. It's really just been that.
So how did you start comedy? I mean, I read in one interview that a pretty girl complimented your jokes and that.
Literally that. I wish there was some superhero story here, but there isn't. I was doing a comedy festival for the 100th time. And I used to be one of those kids who used to go and do all the events just because. Especially when you're not good at college stuff. Then it becomes like at least I know I'm kind of good at these random things. I don't even know what they're good for, but I know I'm good at them. And then somebody, her name is Abhilasha Khetan, she was managing the event and they didn't have enough. Saurabh Pant was judging. Sahil and Sapan were in it. It's a very interesting, weird time. But yeah, so it just happened. And then once you get on stage, obviously it's a very unrealistic way to do stand-up. It's a college fest, movie girls college, सारे लोग चीख रहे तुम्हारे लिए 700 लोग हैं auditorium में. That's not the antithesis of what stand-up should be, I think. So yeah, it was weird. And then I happened to know Karunesh before because we were in a band together for some months. And he kind of told me, there's this whole scene. There are open mics. You do the thing and you learn and you work on the jokes. And I'm like, I can do this. Yeah. And then it's just been a journey from there. It's been a pretty long journey, actually, now that I think about it.
It's been 10 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Who would have thought?
So how do you look back now at 10 years in comedy?
I don't know. I think it's like, when I look back, it seems great. But I think more than that, it weighs on you in the present. Because every time I tell a joke and it doesn't work, my brain is like, dude, 10 years. ये तो चल रहा था कल आज नहीं चला पा रहा है. So it's like it's a different pressure to walk around this. But other than that, it's just been, like I said, it's just been such a Tarzan, swinging from wine to wine. You're just like hoping that you leave one wine and the next thing you grab is a wine. That's the only real hope there is to this. But like it's just been, and it's time has gone by pretty fast that way because you have to work. Like I didn't get very famous along the way, so I had to actually do stand up to make money, which means I had to travel a lot and do a lot of places. And that part has been, it's amazing. Like I was telling you earlier also, right? The anxiety. If it weren't for stand-up, there are probably 35, 40 cities in the country I would never have gone to. and people I wouldn't have met. And now it's just like now I'm so much more confident of doing this for the rest of my life. I feel like if I get another 10 years at least, then maybe I'll be really good. Right now I'm still getting there, but now I think it's just beginning to go from it being just a craft to practicing it as an art form. So maybe another 10 years, then I'll be good at it. Then I'll be satisfied, hopefully satisfied at least where I'm going. But at least I'm on schedule. That's a good thing.
Yeah. You got a plan.
I mean, it just get better. It's really single point agenda. But like patience is very hard. So it's wait and you wait and you wait and you hope that if you stick to it, then maybe instead of 10 more years, it'll happen in 9. But the hardest part is getting used to the. Plus, it's like being a sports person, man. Like it's like, I mean, apart from the whole physical end of it, but like just the idea of you develop technique and you evolve more. Then kinks develop in your technique. So on one hand, you reach a point where you're trying to add skills, but you're also at the same time accruing kinks and little problems in your style that keep becoming recurring. Some of them, are stylistic. Some of them are just technical flaws. And then you have to also work on those, which is very, very fun. Unfortunately, at some point you feel a little lonely with stand-up, but not as many people do stand-up anymore. The stand-up diaspora has also kind of spread into a lot of different things. So, I wouldn't dare call myself a purist, but some people who are touring regularly and doing it all the time are reducing it. So that's been weird. In terms of company, I feel a little lonely.
So shifting focus to music. First of all, you said you had a band with Karunesh.
Yeah, temporarily, very, very briefly.
What sort of band?
Yes, it was I guess you could call it an alt-rock band. I don't know if Karunesh will agree with that now. Yeah, and actually it was just Mumbai that got into the way. Of course, he lived in Andheri, I lived in Grand Road. We literally had to go to Borivali to jam.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. We used to, my granddad's old house, I moved my drums piece by train from Grand Road to Borivali. And we used to meet in Borivali to practice because it was slightly faster for everyone as opposed to the 1.5 hour things take to come there or out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very brief. I don't think it was very good then. Huh?
And that's commute is what killed it.
Yeah. Commute has killed many a thing in Mumbai. Straight up people, relationships, hope. So much goes.
Yeah. When I moved to Bombay, I was so surprised to read in the paper. 8 people die a day on the locals. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. But it shouldn't feel so bad. Some of them do it by choice.
That's also.
Yeah.
Did you and Karunesh ever perform anywhere?
No, except for bedrooms when practicing. But never really. Although they have a couple of songs that are lying somewhere on my hard disk that never got released, but are on my hard disk, which I think are great. I think that band should have stuck around. I mean, even without me, they were a great band.
And what was it called?
I think it was called The Millionaire's Pregnant Wives at some point. And then it was called something else also at some point. But there are 2 songs that stood out. One was called Anakin Killed His Children. And and I forgot what the other one was called. But great songs.
And you also studied songwriting online from Berkeley, I think.
Yeah, dude. You can get so many free courses on the internet, dude. And I mean, unless you're chasing a certificate, there's so much to learn for free. Like I didn't just do that. I did history of rock and roll volume 1 and 2. I did world history ke baare mein 3-4 course. I have done a fuck ton of online courses. I love that shit. It's like you can study at your own pace, and you don't have no, your parents and all will not check your marks and all afterwards. It's damn good.
So what happened? Why did the music thing not work out initially?
Yeah, I didn't want to perform it live. That was the first issue. Actually, comedy also spoils you, because when you're doing stand-up, everyone shuts the fuck up and listens, man. And if they don't, then you make them, I mean, that's kind of part of the whole experience. And with music, I've not been to a lot of musicians because of anxiety, but the ones I have gone to, I'm not the kind of guy that goes to music and talks. You know what I mean? Like I sit in a car, I'm here to listen to you. I want to listen. And then when you play music and people talk, they're like, no, you listen. Bye. So that was the thing. And additionally, I realized at some point that I didn't want to also. Like I was that there's a sense like with artists, there's a sense of like I want to show you what I made. Please look at what I made. And I was never kind of a fan of that feeling. With stand-up, there's no choice. So I felt like if I'm making that compromise with stand-up, why should I also make it with my music? So music then kind of just took a backseat in the sense that I was like, I'll keep making songs, but I don't need to tell anyone about it. Which is what kept happening. And then obviously, with your friends and all, you play music because a lot of the songs are for them. Or are about things that you've experienced collectively. And the musician friends I had were always pretty insistent. You should really record fuck off. Why? Like the whole album is about how I don't work. And that's the thing that even now, how as much as things have changed, a lot of the new songs are kind of around just that idea. It's just around the idea that I really don't want to be making music for you, but I'm making it and you can listen to it if you like.
Yeah, so you just released your first single, Love of You.
Yeah.
So what was like, how this return to music come about?
COVID. My friend Shashwat Bulusi, who's also the producer on Cabin, I'm like his biggest fan. I met him when he was a kid and 17, 18. We met in Baroda when I was there with the Comedy Factory. His music is just so fucking. I think it's some of the best music coming out of the country. What most people experience is what goes out onto the internet. But I would say the privilege of just sitting and spending 6 hours in Baroda in the afternoon because there's nothing else to do, just sitting and listening to him work on songs. Our running joke was that he's the musician and I'm the chill with her. Because I just kind of chill around him and be like, hey, crowd acha tha. Because the musical sensibility color there. And obviously he'd heard my song. And one song he had convinced me, do record this one. It's called Yellow Dresses on this record. He'll record this one song. But then COVID he kind of weighed in. Like, how when you have someone in a hold and then you just like squeeze, he did that. Because he was like, Aakash, COVID, you will die. And all your music will die with you. And I was like, yeah, man, it will. And I was kind of happy about that until he pointed out that, what if you're in the hospital and what if you lose your lungs in COVID and what if you can't sing your own songs anymore? All this very paranoid stuff he put in my head. And then I felt like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I want to record this. And I think on some level I got scammed because first he said, let's just record, we don't need to release. And then through baby steps, he made me kind of, release.
Basically, once you're on the hook and you're recording, then next step.
The thing is, the first thing that really hit me was just the nature of the process because it's so different from stand-up, right? Stand-up is you solving puzzles in your head, man. Like, you can keep doing it endlessly and nobody even needs to know you're solving it until you do it on stage. But music is collaborating from the get-go. In the songs, I might have written on my own, but the minute you walk into a room with a band and you say, okay, let's figure out the arrangements to these. It's more ideas come. It's like a drug. It's a different kind of feeling to have a collaborative creative process. So somewhere in the middle of the album, I started getting the feeling of, okay, so there are at least 2 more albums. Because there's clearly there's a thing in my head. I need to, now that I've started this process of putting it out. Because I'm not a very talented musician. So when I'm playing my instruments and all and singing, it's not nothing to write home about. I can sing reasonably, but that's about it. Because and then you have a vision for what you want to hear in your head, but you can't achieve it on your own. And then suddenly you realize, oh my God! Not only can I achieve the vision in my head, it's going to get elevated because there are more people involved here. And so then that chaska happens. So now we're looking at 2 more albums and a rap EP. So because the rap EP is called I Should Be Rapping. It's really the whole. It's 4 or 5 songs of just me saying rapping and then at the end saying, but listen to this guy, he does it better. An actual rapper who raps and does it better.
So tell us a little about the album. What's it called? What's it about?
Okay. Yeah. So it's called Water Life. We thought of a lot of names for it, but we figured Water Life is most accurate because that's sort of the overwhelming feeling with the music also. It's songs written over a bunch of years, each one radically different times in my life, with more or less the same sort of sentiment going through them. 8 songs, and it sort of builds up to Water Life, the title song, and then kind of the rest of the albums have come down from that song. And it's like a journal. It's like it's moments, because the thing is now some things can't be stand up, and some things can't be a picture or a movie. Like some things, there's an obsession almost, right, of like the privilege of being an artist is that you can encapsulate things and people and moments, and they are preserved forever. Like for me, like I was genuinely a huge fan of Sushma. So like when Sushma Swaraj wala, that bit is like genuinely an ode to that person. It's like me encapsulating what I think of that person, and it will stay on. It will be there forever, dude. Unless the YouTube servers burn down or whatever. And so like that's insane to me. Like I that's one of the most amazing, unfathomable things that I still deal with every day. So some things have to be solved. So just to give you an idea, like Love of You, it's like it's the whole song is just a sentiment, which I really can't explain in any other way. It's just loving someone and treating love like a one-way street, and just love being a way to kind of explore yourself as opposed to just fawn over somebody else. Because I mean the whole idea of the whole find a part inside you that's free of jealousy and greed, and it kind of gets opened up because of love. And everything around love these days is so it's about possession. It's about I want you. I want to do things for you or to you or get you things. तुझे ये करा दूंगा तेरा recharge करवा. I don't know if this is recharge करवा दूंगा, but whatever they say. And this is just more like, hey, I love you, and I'm just gonna revel in the fact that I love you, and you don't need to say anything back, but just know that I love you. That's it. Over to you is a similar. I mean, it's almost one chronological journey to think about, because it starts out with the person's life, and then it sort of phases in a relationship with that person's life, dealing with loss also and dealing with new love also. And yeah, actually, now that I'm talking to you, I'm realizing there are patterns here that I didn't quite realize earlier.
Yeah. So you said you brought some musicians and you put a band together. Who's in there, and how did the process of giving all these intimate songs to other people to play with you? How's that work out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the credit has to go to Shashwat, because essentially what I ended up getting was Shashwat's band, which is, I mean, I'm already a fan of them. मुझे तो बहुत पसंद है. And we had Uday Bhardwaj on the guitar. Shashwat also played a lot of guitars, a lot of the synth parts. We had Jyotirmay on the drums for majority of it. And like these are just एक तो है ना कि there are competent musicians, and the other is like musicians who also have, like, some people execute and some people also kind of they collaboratively create with you, and these are not people who execute. Like for example with Uday, it's been the whole journey, because for one of the songs, Sister Superior is about my cousin who passed away. So it's about just longing for somebody, and it's sort of like hoping. So the hook is, I hope heaven has good tunes. So that has a solo, and I remember sitting with Uday, alag se I took him, and I was like, bro, listen, like, this solo has to go to heaven. The stakes are very high. You have to understand. This is nothing. The rest of the album is on one side and this is on one side. So you have to treat this very differently. And the fact that he was willing to be that vulnerable and go back into his own life to find those places, and he fucking, it took us like what? I think that solo took the most amount of time to do out of anything we had. Because he had to find his way there. And when he did, it's the most, it goes straight up to heaven. Like I hear that solo every time and I'm like, oh man, that is tickling the toes of angels everywhere. It's so good. So the band, I was very lucky, and also I think it helps generally to be a multi-instrumentalist. So I know the drums and I know the guitar and I generally know the instruments that I'm talking about when I'm thinking of composition. So that way it was really smooth. Also, just Shashwat's willingness to fight is so important because with Jyotir and Uday is always like a space of, yeah, okay, you know what, Akash, at the end of it, it's your song. But then Shashwat is like, no, but it's our album. Like, nahi chalega.
No, that solo thing reminded me of a story. Maggot Brain by Funkadelic?
Yeah, of course.
You know how that solo came about? They were tripping on acid. And the frontman told the guitarist that imagine your mother is dead.
Yeah.
Then on this really bad trip, very emotionally vulnerable trip, he sat and made that solo, and that was actually supposed to be a full song. But he heard the solo and he's like, okay, I need to fade out all the other instruments because this is just otherworld.
Yeah.
So anyway, coming back to this, are you also planning on taking this on tour?
I really am not. Like I said, I have no interest. I'm okay with touring stand-up. Touring music is commercially a problem.
Yeah.
I'm not even a 500 seat selling comedian. Music ka to scope hi nahi hai. I'm more interested in, okay, chalo, I'm done with this one. We figured out how to release this. Can we please get to the next one? Because the next one is more songs and they're longer and is, so it's more that. I feel like the whole, I don't mind doing those studio live things and all, where you do it once and you record it and that's done. But like a live, I just don't have it in me. And increasingly with age, I feel less inclined.
So this has not been a backup career option, considering what's happening with comedy.
It's the exact opposite of a backup. This is a money-burning machine.
So you've also kind of, there's no comedy on this album. It's a proper, sincere, serious music album.
There's nothing funny on this album, I think.
But is that something that you want to explore, like putting these two different skill sets together? Maybe in your live state, live stand-up performances?
There were a couple of songs that I had in my specials earlier. And honestly, it just didn't. I grew up like watching Flight of the Conchords and all, man. And then I kind of have this internal standard for what musical comedy should be. And I feel like I haven't been able to come close also. And not for lack of trying, trust me, because music is something you can practice off stage. I've spent at least 3, 4, 5 years of my comedy career thinking, just like working on comedy stuff on the side. And I'm not particularly inclined to do so at all. At most, I think I've come to a stage where if I sing on stage, I'm more ready to sing things on stage than I do otherwise, because I know I can pull them off. But I feel like it's not like my, this is a song, ladies and gentlemen, about a funny premise that is funny on its own. So the song will only give you spaces and instruments to upload at. If it's not as good as others' goat song, then it's not good enough to put out. That's my benchmark for comedy music.
You've also been now you're back on, things have opened up, so you're back on tour doing comedy. I noticed you did 7 specials over November, December, like you're doing in Bombay.
Yeah.
You're traveling. How does it feel to be back on the
road? Finally. I was dying, dude. I was really dying. And I think it's more than just stand up now. Going on tour is like going back to that family that you left behind in that city, especially the cities that you keep going back to. Like, Hyderabad, Delhi, Chandigarh, Bangalore, Pune, to an extent, Nagpur, all of the Ahmedabad and Baroda, all of these places are places where I have gone so often that now there is a family that's there and you miss them as much as you miss doing stand-up in those places. And then obviously just all of the things that come with touring come with it, obviously. But there is in Dehradun, I was there in Dehradun right now, and in my show, there were 2 wildlife researchers, dude. Now, where else do I get to meet wildlife researchers, dude? Like, where else? It was amazing, and I took them out for dinner later, and they weren't believing me only. But like, why would you do this? Because you do such an amazing thing that I would never ever have gotten to know about. And I just picked their brains for 3 hours. This doesn't happen, right? You have to go on tours for this.
Yeah.
And there's a spontaneity to being on the road. It's less about, Vipul Goel is best example. Vipul Goyal can sit in a room and write a special and it will fucking work everywhere and it will be the best special written that you are most likely. I'm the exact opposite. If I'm not on the move, if I'm not constantly looking at things and absorbing new things, my brain just goes dumb and it just doesn't want to do anything. So I think it's sort of part of that process itself now, where you go on a tour with one special. Like this time, though, I think we're doing Nasty, Dark, and Clean also in some of the other places. So we're doing 4 shows on this tour, 4 specials on this tour. But by the end of the tour, you have that. You have the groundwork for the 8th show, for sure.
One thing that I think has been looming over everyone, and that you kind of acknowledge a bit in your last video, Lockdown Ke Janwar, where you talk about losing friends and processing the pandemic. And I feel like that is something that a lot of comedians are thoda staying away from for now because they need some time, maybe some distance.
Yeah.
How are you sort of processing all of this? Because I think the audience after a point will also want to process the traumatic 2-3 years they've been through. So how do you approach that as a comedian?
Life right now is a lot of that only. Like it's the cognitive dissonance that occurs when something is happening on your phone and something completely different is happening outside the window. And I feel like nobody helped with this. You know what I mean? Of all the people that one would turn to expect some sort of help out of it, every link in that chain has failed us. Like the government won't acknowledge it, the media won't acknowledge it, your movies won't acknowledge it, the news won't acknowledge it, shows don't acknowledge it, and then who's left? The influencer, and they're too busy fucking selling you motherfucking green tea or whatever, So like, I mean, what do you do? And then and I'm kind of annoyed at comics also for not acknowledging it. I think on some level comedians feel that they're an escape, but no, Salman Khan movie is an escape. You're there to kind of take the pain and make it funny. Otherwise, shouldn't I just write soap operas? If escape hi karne ka hai logon ko to. So kya fayda varna? So I think that's sort of generally the approach. Plus, I think for me processing things, I'm very lucky, because I get to go on stage and scream.
Yeah.
And the average person doesn't get to scream. So I mean, all of this is kind of in life right now. So some of life right now will go into YouTube videos because I have that 10 years of. So I wanted to put out 20 stand-up videos for the 10 years. But now I feel I won't put out 20 because they're all 20-minute, half an hour, 45-minute long videos anyway. So I think I can get away with one a month instead of 2. But most of life from the spine. So every show for me, I have a spine punch. And then the way I write jokes is I can literally take one punchline from here and then and it's all very technical, boring stuff that I do, but I like to do it because I'm geeky about stand-up. So life right now is essentially just that. It's just dealing with this weird thing that happened to all of us that, and none of us, and personally, I'm not even close to processing. Are you? I don't think any of us are, right?
No, I think it's happening. It's a process, but nowhere close to finishing that process.
है ना? तो मेरे लिए तो वही हो गया कि मैं हर सिटी में जब जाके बात करता हूँ इसके बारे में स्टेज पे, and people talk back at me, like I'm very conversational like that. So people say stuff back, and that is sort of really helping me process it. Every time I have doctors in the show, and I invariably have some doctors in the show, which I really worry about because they should be in the hospital then. But and they come, and I always tell them कि कितने patient मार रहे हो आज मेरे चक्कर में. And then I talk, and these become real conversations where I'm like, I actually asked some doctor, I remember in Pune, I was like, you're a surgeon. You spend so much time trying to save people in COVID. I bet you also got possible COVID duties. Like, yeah. I'm like, man, and someday a robot will replace you. And how do you deal with that? And, and it's not like they aren't thinking about it. Of course they're fucking thinking about it. But there's no forum for them to think about it out loud also.
Yeah.
And then the interaction becomes that forum. So it's like this collective dealing that is happening with all of our collective fates, which are fucked up.
Yeah. And so that, how traumatic the last few years have been and how traumatic I think the next few years are going to be because there's a lot of things that are going wrong. And also how, we're seeing what's happening with Munawar, with me, generally with comedians in India. So where, so the final question, where do you think comedy is headed in the 2020s, like in India? What is the next decade of evolution going to look like?
Yeah. So there's this old story about they taught us in audio engineering. The church in medieval Europe, the church used to have a big problem with composers. Okay. They didn't want composers to make music that's too provocative. They said certain chords are the devil's chords. You know, they're designed to make you feel like basically any minors and fifths and all these dissonant chords they used to dislike. So the church would say you can't play these chords. So you know what these guys did? The composers made new chords. You know, and the chords served the purpose, and if anything, they did better. Is what we're living in right now the most conducive place to do what we do? No. But oftentimes that is where the best innovation takes place. With Munawar, I feel like, you know, I know that guy. I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to stay off stage. And the fact that it's taken this much to even prompt a response from him shows how much resilience he has. 400 people said they would go themselves to Calgary.
Yeah, that was just.
But you know, I don't know. I'm a believer of the idea that the pendulum swings.
Yeah.
And the pendulum always goes to extremes. But there is a lot of time in the middle that's what we must take advantage of. Let's see, man. The country might. I don't know what the country wants anymore. But over time, I don't think stand-up is going. There's nothing that can stop a comic from going on stage and doing a 15-seater at least yet.
Oh, and on that hopeful, optimistic note,
you want me to give you a more optimistic end one? I can tell you that also. I can give you one. Comedians today are branching out into several different things. You know, some of them are becoming, musicians, and some of them are becoming talk show people, and some of them are going to acting and making things.
And some of them are becoming chess players.
Some of them are becoming chess players. You know, I really like the chess thing. Like, can you imagine, like, somebody made chess cool?
Yeah, I was amazed.
That's crazy. I played in that shit. I played Vishwanathan Anand. I didn't believe I would win. My family is so shitty to me about the chess stuff. When I won, so my whole bachpan, I was my cousin's practice board. Okay, so I've just lost. I've never won my whole childhood. So always lose because my cousin is all Asia, dude. He's too good. And I've always lost. And then I won this chess shit. And my mom is like, oh, comedians ko to koi bhi hara sakta. I was like, no. Why would you do that to me? Anyway, my point is, the thing is, here's my funda. If you're doing stand-up in India right now, okay, find one other way to make money. For a while. Okay. मैं भी कर रहा ना writing jobs मैं भी कर मेरा टूर से पैसा नहीं बन रहा है मैं टूर से एक better comedian बन रहा है और hopefully एक better इंसान बन रहा है that's the goal right and the money is a whole separate equation that you need to figure out in life so as long as you are able to do that stand up is not going to die ever it's too late now people have understood that you can take your opinions and go on stage and make people laugh now it's too late
cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, and then you have people like Harsh and Bassi who are sort of an answer to a more politicized audience atmosphere, where they are not very political, and they're talking about a completely different set of life things. Is it revolutionary stand-up comedy? No. Does every stand-up have to be revolutionary? No. So then it works.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Aakash. It's been a fantastic conversation. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
No, man. My pleasure to be here, man. I always love it when people are like, hey, tu hai? And I'm like, haan, main idhar hi.